Salutations, people who watch things on the internet. It's Sunday night, which means it's time for another Doctor Who review. And there will be spoilers because we can't really talk about the show anymore without having spoilers. So if you haven't checked out the last Do It or Not, it's right there. Go up there, subscribe, and then the last Doctor Who review will be down over there. Tonight's episode was called Curse of the Black Spot. I got my lappy set up here. As you can see, we're not in my house. I'm house sitting, so, check it out. It's kind of awesome. But this episode, let's start off with the stuff that I really appreciated. I appreciated that it was a self-contained episode for the most part, and we'll come back to that little tidbit there. I appreciated that it kind of followed the general formula of a Doctor Who episode where you kind of figure out what's going on, at least the first half of the episode, and you're not just left with this giant cliffhanger and you have no idea what's going on. You realize that the lady from the water is pretty much out to get people for whatever reason, and you see her actually take someone away, and we'll get to this in the spoiler part, but it's not left hanging that you don't know what's going on and what's weird, and at least that leads into the end of the episode where you find out that she is just a computer program that's there to help everyone and kind of be a doctor to everyone as well. Not the best episode in my opinion. It felt a little expository where they're just talking about a lot of stuff. I was hoping they'd get more into this relationship between the Captain Avery and the Doctor and how they're both doctors, and there was a little bit of playing about who the Doctor really is and like his emotions and how he feels about people and some of his history, but at the same time I thought it was a little weak, and the Doctor was kind of there to make sure that Captain Avery kind of realized what he was giving up by letting go of his crew and letting go of his son, and that it was really costing him and there was nothing there. But otherwise it was kind of weak, and it was kind of sci-fi, but if it was like Blackbeard or some other great pirate, historical pirate like we've seen in a lot of the historical episodes, I think it could have upped the ante just a little bit more, where we get to see like this different side of some historical pirate or something like that. But in this case, I would just like, This episode actually did get moved from, if you don't know already, Doctor Who's going to be split into like kind of a spring season and then a break and then like a fall season where the remaining episodes are going to be. I think it's 1 through 7. I have a couple web pages open here. 1 through 7 is in the spring, and then 8 through 13 are in the fall. So this episode actually got moved from the fall up to episode number 3, and I think what Doctor Who's been trying to do is like they're kind of playing off of cultural events that are happening within a time frame. Like last week's episode was Day of the Moon, and it was dealing with the shuttle launch and everything, and actually coincidentally the second to last space shuttle launch was supposed to happen last weekend, so about the same time. And this one actually, there's a lot of speculation is based off of the title of the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie coming out soon. So it's like, hey, let's move the pirate episode up to right when the pirate movie's gonna come out, because that's coming out, I don't even know, like next month or soon. So there's all these tie-ins between pop culture and seems like Doctor Who. I don't know if I've just gotten off to a bad start with this season, and it's just kind of perpetuating through these episodes. Like I wasn't super happy with episode 1. I kind of still wasn't happy with episode 2. Episode 3 was self-contained, but it wasn't a great episode. Like not a lot of things happened. In terms of everything, and the whole Rory almost dying, seriously, like, come on, I was just like, oh, Rory's dead, but then by the time it just went on a little too long when she's trying to do really poor CPR on Rory, I was like, he's obviously coming back to life, like, they're not going to let him die, otherwise they would really like letting Rory die and bringing him back. My Rory moment, so here's me warming up to Rory a little bit, is at the very beginning of the episode when the hatch pops open and Matt Smith was talking about like yo ho ho or whatever, and he's like, do pirates not say that? And then Rory right in the corner kind of like does this little like squeamish hello wave, timid wave, which I thought was brilliant. What I really didn't like about this episode was the fact, well, before I get to what I really didn't like at the end, Eye Patch Lady, and I had to look her up. Apparently she shows up in Day of the Moon, the last episode, when Amy's looking through the keyhole, and she shows up and like says whatever. In this episode she shows up again. So I wonder, with what she said, if that was originally scripted to happen later in the season, or if they changed what she said here because it sets up what's going to happen later. Because if this episode was supposed to be later in the season, and now it's happening beginning, that is kind of one of the only things in this episode that's kind of follows the through line that we're going to see happen through this season between the Doctor dying and Amy and the spacesuit and all that kind of stuff. So we see this little piece from episode 2 carry over to episode 3, but it was really supposed to happen later. So I kind of it makes me wonder a little bit if that was out of sequence or if they changed it so that it would be in sequence with what's going on now. The thing at the very end of the episode when they're finally back on the TARDIS and Amy has the flash about the Doctor being shot really took it out for me. Like the fact that it felt like they were really pushing the through storyline that's going to be happening, and had to kind of tack on this ending, probably because it's out of order and it was shot this other way, that remind people, even though this episode has nothing to do with anything that happened in episodes 1 and 2, was like, let's put this little end piece on the end that reminds us that there's this bigger thing going on. And it was really annoying for me because, yes, I understand Amy's pregnant, but she's not pregnant, and that worries the Doctor. And yes, I understand that she's really worried that he's going to die. So I was just like, come on, crikey. But the one interesting thing that I realized once she had that little flash to him dying and Rory saying, you can't tell him because it's the future. If you remember in episode, I think it's 1, when she meets the Silence for the first time, and the Silence tells Amy that she's going to have to tell the Doctor something important, that she doesn't want to tell him. And at that time, I think they really make you think that it's her being pregnant, because at the end of this, she's like, I gotta tell you something, it's really important, and she's blistered out, I'm pregnant. But I think what the Silence is getting at, and we'll see, and I think it was a misdirection about the pregnancy, is that she's going to tell the Doctor that he's gonna die. Let me just let that sink in for a moment. So the Silence is now really playing into the fact that Amy knows this critical piece of information that the Doctor cannot know because it's his future. And like River Song says, no spoilers, she's going to break down and tell him because she's so concerned. And we get a glimpse of that when she fires the gun in episode 1 at the spacesuit. And so there's this really kind of tension that's building up to that moment, I think. Let's talk preview next week. A lot of things are going on between the title and the writer and the preview that happens at the end of this episode. So let's start with the writer. The writer of next week, episode 4, is Neil Gaiman. And if you know who Neil Gaiman is at all, you will understand why this is a big deal. And if you don't know who Neil Gaiman is, just go Google his name. So we have a very interesting writer who's done a lot of very interesting things. He's going to be penning a Doctor Who episode, and some things have leaked out about him penning it and it being very dark and it being very self-contained, and what's really interesting to me. Episode notes is that it was supposed to be episode 3 and is now episode 4, so it's this whole shuffling of stuff that has been moved around, but I don't think that's going to matter as much in this case. The name of the episode is called The Doctor's Wife, which alludes to River Song, but I doubt, and this is kind of being spoilered, is that I'm on this page. It's TARDIS.wikia, wiki.com. Shout out to whoever runs that website. They have all the episodes listed out and as much information as they can if people are going to appear and stuff like that, and there's no note in this spoiler that River Song will be in this episode when there is a note in a later episode about her being in an episode. So I don't know that we're going to see River in this episode, but then also in the preview we hear that there's another Time Lord out there. I personally really hope it's the Doctor's daughter, which if you remember from, was that even Eccleston? I can't even remember, it was so long ago. I think it was Tennant. Yes, it was Tennant because he ended up dating her. No, it was Eccleston because Tennant ended up dating her later, which was weird because the Doctor was dating his own daughter in real life. So I'm hoping she makes an appearance back because she kind of, in her episode, she's still alive and she's, part Time Lord. So we'll see what happens. Or, I don't know. It'll be really interesting. The very last shot of the preview is the Ood, and they're the green Ood, which could be completely different and interesting. Apparently, the woman that he meets looks like she's sucking on his neck, so there could be some vampire aspect, or it could be just something really weird. So at least this next episode looks like it's going to be action-packed and kind of delve into a lot of different, deeper things. And I think Neil Gaiman, if anyone, can kind of shove as much stuff into an episode that will open things up and be fairly self-contained. So I think that's it. I don't know that I'm missing anything really, that there were these big things that happened in this week's episode, The Curse of the Black Spot, that I really want to touch on, other than the ridiculousness of the captain now captaining a spaceship that looks like a pirate ship and heading towards the two stars, which he vaguely says that he uses to navigate the ocean's water. So, dumb, whatever, we'll see. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Doctor's wife, the title? What do you think about Neil Gaiman writing the episode? What do you think of my ridiculous theory that Amy's going to tell the Doctor that he's going to die ahead of time? So go out there, tell some more people. I love the fact that you guys continue to watch and are giving so much love to these Doctor Who things, and I'm really loving doing them. I don't know what we're going to do when summertime comes and there's nothing to talk about. Maybe we'll like do a rewatch, or you guys, you guys make suggestions of episodes we can go back and talk about and lead up to stuff that's going to be happening in the fall, because we're getting a cliffhanger. It's a part 1, episode 7, into a part 2. So hope you guys are having fun, and I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe. Adios.